The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
The weekend.
The weekend that was.
We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating. We're slate skating.
We move on. The New Orleans Saints traveled to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers in some family business. The Bucs coming off of a throttling of the Kansas City Chiefs a week ago. The Saints coming off of a bye week, and 2 weeks ago they got their first win before the bye. So they were feeling good about themselves. Again, the Saints feel like they got a brand new start to the season. They're 1-0 in their minds, and they're going to try to build off of that. So coming into this game, we knew that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were going to have their hands full with that Saints offense. But what we shouldn't have discounted was the fact that this Saints defense is trash. Extremely garbage. And that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they see garbage defenses, they see red. You know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will never be confused for the 2007 Patriots on offense. They won't be. When Josh Freeman and that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense sees suspect defensive play, Josh Freeman's eyes turn red and he starts using laser-like accuracy and decision-making to make plays. And again, when you have Vincent Jackson on your team, you don't have to be overly accurate. Just get it in the general vicinity and Vincent will make the rest happen. He's 6'5", can leap, can make plays on the ball, has an excellent and uncanny ability to high point the football, and he can run. So they went to work on this Saints defense, as everyone does. And they jumped on them early. And Drew Brees didn't make matters any better by throwing an early interception in this game. Rondé Barber, the ageless wonder, picks him off. And I thought for a second he was going to do one of those patented Rondé Barber returns where he finds his way in the end zone. Because it seems like every time this man gets an interception or a fumble return, he scores. It's like he has a knack for finding the end zone. And he picked him off and he was weaving his way in and out of traffic. And I'm like, is this man about to score another touchdown? But he fell short. But it didn't matter. The very next play, Josh Freeman finds a wide open Tyquan Underwood, and the Bucs, just like that, are on the board 7-0. And I tell you what, this Saints defense, man, are they bad. Whew! It's some pure funk over there on that side of the football for the Saints. But not to be outdone, this Buccaneers defense wasn't going to be able to stand up to the pressure and the weight of what Drew Brees was going to bring to them on this Sunday afternoon. So they respond to that score, do the Saints, but not before the Bucs go and get another touchdown. So the Buccaneers were up 14-0 in this game, and then Drew Brees said, okay, enough with that. Let's go and kind of calm this thing down and let's score some points. So they go down and they get a touchdown. But the Bucs said, look, you can't play defense. You don't scare me. And they went and got another touchdown. And they went up 21-7 in this football game. And at this point, I'm like, really, Tampa Bay? Are you feeling that confident about destroying this Saints defense? And then I looked to the Saints and I said, really? You can't stop the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on offense? I know you're a dreadful defense. But you can't stand up in a division and have some pride about yourself. This is family business that you're conducting. And you're going on the road and just being trounced by a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team who, for all intensive purposes, is not that good on offense. But Drew Brees said, look, I'll handle this. I know I can't trust the defense to hold this team down. I'll take care of this. They proceeded to score 21 unanswered points, take the lead 28-21. And Then they tacked on another touchdown and went up 35-21. And at that point, I said, okay, the game is over. Because when teams that aren't supposed to score a lot of points get into a shootout and they realize they're in over their heads, they usually stop scoring. It happens all too often. We saw it with Cleveland a couple weeks back against the Giants, where they got into a shootout and they started scoring early on and they were like, hey, we can do this. And then the Giants said, oh, really? And the Giants turned it up and started scoring points. And then Cleveland said, no, you're right, we can't. And the Giants kept scoring. That's what happens to teams who can't score. When they try to get in shootouts with teams that can, they usually realize, I'm in over my head. And I thought that the Bucs got to that point when they got to 21 so early in this football game. They realized, hey, we're no shootout team. We're not a team that's supposed to be scoring 35 and 40 points. It's not what we do. That's not our MO. And I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep pace with the Saints. We're putting up a heck of a facade right now, but I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to keep up this charade. And Drew Brees was carving them up in that first half. He had 3 touchdown passes and over 300 yards in the first half. So he was doing his part. And I just didn't know how long the Bucs were going to be able to keep up. And for a minute there, I thought that was it. The Saints were going to run away with this one. They were going to get into the 40s and leave the Bucs somewhere around 24, 28 points. But the Bucs said no. We're not going away that easily. And probably in a game where offense dominated, the biggest play in this game was turned in by, believe it or not, the Saints defense. Stuck on their own 5, Tampa Bay drops back Josh Freeman, and he throws a laser between double coverage to Vincent Jackson, who tips the ball up to himself, catches it, and proceeds to run. And we're thinking, okay, this is about to be about a 96-yard touchdown. Well, it needed to be 96 to score. It was a 95-yard play that Malcolm Jenkins comes out of nowhere and runs him down at the 1-yard line. Heck of a play by Malcolm Jenkins to hustle, never give up on the play, and stop Vincent Jackson at the 1-yard line. So if you're watching the game, you say, okay, it's an afterthought. They're getting in the end zone now. All he did was prolong the inevitable. They're getting a touchdown. I guess that inspired that Saints defense because they weren't having it. They had 2 straight runs with LeGarrette Blount, stopped him. Josh Freeman tried to pass, rolled out, didn't work. They tried to go for it on 4th down. And that Saints defense held serve at the 1-yard line after giving up a 95-yard pass to get down there in the first place. Unbelievable. And that really proved to be the difference in the game because the Bucs scored a touchdown to cut it to a touchdown lead, got the ball back, drove down, had a chance at the end of the game, last play of the game. Josh Freeman rolls out, completes a touchdown pass to Mike Williams, but he was out of bounds first. Came back in. You can't be the first to touch it. Penalty, game over. Bucs lose by a touchdown. If they get that touchdown on the 1-yard line, 1st and goal from the 1, probably talking about a totally different ball game. But they don't. Saints defense holds. They stand up. And the Saints go on the road in the division. Took care of some old-fashioned family business against the Tampa Bay Bucs. They win it 35-28, taking their record to 2-4 on the season. Meanwhile, the Bucs drop to 2-4 on the season as well. And so that's a tough one for the Bucs. And that's a big win for the Saints. If they're going to try to turn this thing around, they got to get wins on the road, and they got to be able to, they got to be able to play some defense. They're going to score points, but they got to be able to play some defense. And in a crucial time in that ball game, they were able to rise up to the occasion and get it done. So as we continue to skate down the slate of games from the weekend that was, we find ourselves in St. Louis as the St. Louis Rams look to take on the Green Bay Packers. And the Packers came off of a week where they absolutely destroyed the Houston Texans on the road. National televised game on Sunday Night Football, and Aaron Rodgers was spectacular. He reminded us that he was the MVP of the National Football League a season ago. And in this game, he reminded us again, in case you forgot, in case you have a very short-lived memory, that I'm the MVP. And when I'm on and when I'm clicking on all cylinders, there's not a better QB in the National Football League. And he took the Rams to task in this football game. I'll tell you what, the Rams, they were bringing it early on in this football game. And Aaron Rodgers had to be careful because they were coming after him. And the one thing that the Rams can hang their hat on week in and week out, doesn't matter who the opponent is, they get pressure on the quarterback. Their two ends, Robert Quinn and Chris Long, they're relentless. And they're getting pressure from the interior as well. Kendall Langford and Michael Brockers, their first selection in this draft, their first round selection. They're getting pressure on that front, with that front four. That line is something else. I tell you what, they're relentless. They don't stop. They have high motors, and they were putting some pressure on Aaron Rodgers early in this football game. I mean, he was lucky to not fumble on the first possession of the game. They came around, and Robert Quinn was swiping at the ball, and he swiped at it twice, and I don't know how Aaron Rodgers didn't fumble. I really don't know, because he was trying to be oblivious to the pressure. Aaron Rodgers was trying to keep his focus down the field. He knew pressure was around him, but he was trying to keep his focus down the field so he could get rid of the football. He was trying to be oblivious, and it almost cost him a turnover. I don't know how he didn't fumble. 77% of the quarterbacks in the league fumble off of, what Robert Quinn was doing on that play, as he was able to sack Aaron Rodgers on that play. And I'll tell you what, had it not been for some of the questionable decisions by Jeff Fisher in this game might have been a lot closer, because this defense for the Rams, although they were absolutely gashed in the passing game, they played pretty solid in this game. You can't really be disappointed in what you saw, because you know what Aaron Rodgers can do with the football. He can spin it. And when he gets into that zone where he's not missing, it's hard to stop this Green Bay Packers offense. And another thing that the Rams did in this game, they took the run away. Aaron Rodgers had to be spectacular because the run game was non-existent. Just to give you a little bit of perspective on what I'm talking about, the leading rusher for the Packers in this game was Alex Green, and he had 20 carries for 35 yards. His longest run of the game was 15. You take that one 15-yard run out, and we're talking about 19 carries for 20 yards. So this Rams defense was stifling the Packers on the ground. And they were getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. So they made Aaron Rodgers have to rise to the occasion. And, Aaron Rodgers had absolutely no problem doing that whatsoever. And the Packers put out a lot of stops in this game. They get a touchdown. The Rams were offsides. So, Aaron Rodgers, being the MVP quarterback that he is, knows the Rams are offside. He has a free play. He throws it up to Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson makes a play on the football. And they're in Rams territory, deep in their territory, around the 12-yard line. They go in for 7. So after that, they catch the Rams off guard with the onside kick. And that's normally something Jeff Fisher does. Well, he had a little bit of a dose of his own medicine as the Packers kicked an onside kick. They recover. They go for more points. They get a field goal out of that. So, the Packers being a little tricky, a little deceptive, and it works in their favor. They get more points, and the Rams, they hung in this football game. But again, I think Jeff Fisher felt the pressure of the Packers, and from what they did a week ago, what they did all last season, he felt like he needed to score touchdowns. When they got the ball into the red zone and found themselves in a 4th and 2 situation, kick the field goal, Jeff Fisher. What are you doing? They went for it on 4th and 2. They didn't get it, and you're giving the Packers more momentum. You work that hard to get in the red zone, get some points, have something to show for it. I know you feel like the Packers a week ago, were explosive. They were explosive all last year, and you felt like they had the ability to be explosive in this game. Aaron Rodgers started the game 8 of 8. So you knew he was hot and in one of those zones, but get points when they're there to be had. I know you feel like you need touchdowns to keep pace with this Packers team, but you also just need points in general to keep pace with this Packers team. You don't score, You're putting yourself in a serious bind by doing that. And that's what you did by going for it on 4th and 2, not getting it, giving the ball back to the Packers. You can't win like that. You can't beat the Green Bay Packers by having drives result in nothing when you have a chance to get points on the board. Didn't really agree with that call, and I thought that a series of calls and situations in the game like that where the Rams needed to step up, had an opportunity to do so, didn't do it, proved to be the difference in the ball game. Sam Bradford throws a deep ball, a lazy one at that. It's picked off by the rookie Casey Hayward for the Packers. They turn that into another field goal situation, just like I spoke of with the 4th and 2 situation. You can't afford to make mistakes in a game against a team that can score points. It's going to backfire on you. And that was a terrible pass by Sam Bradford. And they looked like they were dead in the water in this game. They were down 20-6. They were moping around and they were dead. The energy level had really dropped off from where it was early in the football game when they were getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. And all of a sudden, they throw a screen pass to Chris Givens, their rookie out of Wake Forest, and he gets a 56-yard gain out of it. And all of a sudden, it kind of lifted the spirits back up of the team. The crowd got back into the football game. They end up capping that off with a 6-yard Steven Jackson touchdown run. And all of a sudden, we have a ball game. It's 20-13. And right when they thought they had a chance to sneak back into this game, Aaron Rodgers put all of that to rest. He caught the Rams offsides again and took full advantage of it as he drilled a absolutely gorgeous touchdown strike to Randall Cobb. And he was really big in this game. Randall Cobb had an excellent football game. I think he's emerging as that X factor for the Packers this year. Last year, I thought the X factor was Jordy Nelson. You just never knew when Jordy Nelson was going to get you, for a deep ball down the field, and he came out of nowhere. This year, that guy is Randall Cobb. You know what to expect out of Jordy Nelson. There has been no Greg Jennings this year. So you already know what James Jones can do. And so Randall Cobb is just coming out of nowhere, and he's jumping off the screen at you, and he's making plays. And I thought he made some of the biggest plays in this football game. Not only did he catch 2 touchdown passes, but he picked up and converted some key third downs in this game when the Packers were really looking to eat up some clock and drive the ball down the field and get points. He was magnificent in this game. And if not for him, I would say that this game would have been totally different, and the Packers might have still won, but they would have struggled in doing so. They would have really had to eke out a victory. Instead, Randall Cobb's dynamic playmaking ability led him to make plays and help the Packers win this one pretty easily against the St. Louis Rams, 30-20, taking the Packers to 4-3 on the season and getting them up over 500 for the first time this season at 4-3. Meanwhile, the St. Louis Rams, who had a chance to get over 500 again on the season, after it being over 500 for the first time since 2006 at 3-2, they're now 3-4 on the season after this loss. And so now they have to find a way to kind of turn this ship around. They don't want to start going in the wrong direction after starting the season so well. If they have a chance, they're still right there. They're only one game under 500, but they got to find a way to eke out a victory some way, somehow, and get this thing back to 500. You don't want this thing to start going in the wrong direction and have this thing snowball downhill. Guys start falling back into old habits of when they were losing games, and they fall into a funk, and next thing you know, they've dropped 6 straight, and now they're 3-9 on the season. They need to find a way to get a W, get this thing turned around. Next up, on our slate of games, we see the New York Jets traveling to the New England Patriots. And what I thought was going to be a flat-out spanking. I thought that the Jets were going to get embarrassed. And look, I have the Jets as a playoff team this year. I've been laughed at. I've been ridiculed for sticking with that. I haven't changed. Look, when I make a pick early on in the season, I don't waffle. I don't waver from it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And that was one of the picks I made coming into the season, was the Jets were going to make the playoffs. And after watching this game, I feel so much better about that assertion. It still may not prove to be true, but it looks a heck of a lot better this week than it did, let's say, 3 weeks ago. where the Jets looked like a team that was lost trying to find their way. The Jets came out in this game, and they did something that I didn't think they would be able to do, and that was sustain reasonable offense, which, to their credit, they were able to do. And I was surprised. I thought Mark Sanchez was going to throw up all over himself. I thought he was going to turn the football over, be an absolute train wreck, cause the Jets to really be out of this game in the fourth quarter without a chance to win, and have the Jets pondering whether they need to make a move at the quarterback position. But he didn't. He didn't do that. He was pretty solid in this game. Again, his numbers will never really wow you. You know, he did throw a pick in this game, but he did throw a touchdown pass. He found Jeremy Curley several times in this game. He found Stephen Hill a few times in this game. He found Dustin Keller, and I think that's a big help to him. Dustin Keller, early in his career, was a safety blanket for Mark Sanchez. Having Dustin Keller back, I think, is going to help Mark Sanchez. I'm still a big proponent of Tebow. I think they need to continue to use him and utilize, the things that Tebow can do. But I guess Mark Sanchez is going to be who they're going to ride with, and I guess I'm fine with that. If he's going to continue to play like he did against the Patriots in this game, I'm willing to ride it out and see where this thing can go. Because it's not like he hasn't been to the playoffs before. It's not like he hasn't taken his team to the AFC Championship game before. He's done it twice. Problem is, he's never been good enough to get them over the hump. And I still don't think he's good enough to get them over the hump. But you just want to get a chance. You just want to get a ticket to the dance. And once you get there, you see what you can do. And this defense, I thought they played a lot better than I was going to give them credit for in this game. I thought that the Patriots were going to come out, and they have been playing some really good offense of late. And I thought they were going to really take it to the Jets, who, are missing Darrelle Revis. That they don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I thought Brady was going to have ample time to throw the football. They can be ran on at times. And so I was like, okay, they're going to have their way on offense. No. Brady had spurts and moments in this game when he just looked unstoppable and that offense was moving up and down the field. But for the most part, this Jets defense held that Patriots offense in check. And that's what you get when you get some family business being conducted. Two teams that know each other well, know each other's tendencies, and knows what the other team's kryptonite is. And so these two teams hate each other. They know each other like the back of their hands. And so I should have expected more from the Jets in this game. The Jets seem to bring the best out of the Patriots, and the Patriots seem to bring the best out of the Jets. And so this was a really good football game. And it's what I should have expected coming into this game, but I didn't. I thought the Jets were not ready to play at the level that they needed to beat the Patriots on the road. And this was a well-played ball game. The difference in the game, the Patriots got sevens. The Jets settled for 3 in situations where the Jets should have been getting 7. They got 3. And the Jets made mistakes. Sanchez throws up a ball for grabs, gets picked off. They fumble a ball in the end zone off a quarterback running back exchange on the handoff. Sanchez has to kick it out of the back of the end zone. It's a safety. You can't have things like that happen when you're trying to win football games on the road against teams in the division. And when you're trying to handle some family business, you can't have mistakes like that happen. And they had a drop ball late by Stephen Hill. He's a rookie. Those things happen. But again, you want to win games on the road against teams like the Patriots, who capitalize most times off of your mistakes. Got to catch the football. And then the Patriots make a mistake of their own. Jets crawl back into this game after looking like it was going to be over, being down 10 with, less than 7 minutes in this ball game. They're able to go on a 10-0 run of sorts, to use a little bit of a basketball analogy. And they tied the game up, kick it off to the Patriots, and you're thinking, okay, Brady, he's got, well over a minute to go. And he's going to take them down and get this game winning score. Well, Devin McCourty, who ran a kickback for a touchdown early in this football game, fumbles. He costs it up. And the Jets are in business probably around the Patriots' 22, 24-yard line. They go conservative on them. And this is where I think having Mark Sanchez as your quarterback comes back to haunt you, because if you have confidence in your starting QB to get it done, I mean, you take shots at the end zone at that point. You're going for the dagger. Brady doesn't see the football again. Either you're going to eat up clock and make them use all their timeouts, and then you're trying to sit on the football and kick the game-winning score, and Brady doesn't touch the football again, or you're being aggressive. You're going for the jugular. You're going for the win. You go for 7 in that instance. You don't just curl up and say, all right, we're going to get 3. And that's what the Jets did. They ran the football 2 or 3 times and said, all right, let's kick this field goal, go up by 3. As if Brady wasn't going to lead them down the field to tie it up. And Rex Ryan knows better than that. And again, I think that's where you see the lack of trust in Sanchez. I don't want Sanchez to piss this one away and me have to answer to the New York media about should we pull the plug on him. How about I just kick this field goal, and if we end up losing this ball game, it'll be because we couldn't get stops on defense, not because Mark Sanchez pissed away an opportunity to win the game. So he went conservative, and it backfired. Brady took him down the field. They got the field goal, took it to overtime. You know, they won the toss. Brady goes down, they get a field goal. Jets get the ball, and the Patriots get a sack, force a fumble, recover it, game over. Good night, drive safely. The Jets had an opportunity to win this game, did not take full advantage of it. Patriots, being the opportunistic team that they are, took full advantage of the opportunity that the Jets gave them by not trying to win the football game right out in regulation. And so they had to pay. They had to pay. And again, the Jets had a valiant effort in this game, showed me a lot in this game that, look, you know, they may not have all the pieces in the world. They may be missing some guys that could really help them on both sides of the ball, but they're not to be counted out. And I said they're going to make the playoffs, and they made me feel a lot better about, you know, making that statement and sticking by it. Again, they still may not make it, but I feel a lot better about the Jets this week than I did 3 weeks ago. And the Jets reminded me, they reminded you, they reminded us that when they're playing good football, they're playing solid on the defensive end, Mark Sanchez isn't imploding, and they can run the football somewhat. They're a formidable team in the AFC, and not just the AFC East, but the AFC Conference in itself. This Jets team, if they don't beat themselves, Mark Sanchez can play solid football. They can play, you know, that smash mouth type of football that Rex Ryan wants to play, running the football and playing solid defense. They could be a dangerous team in the AFC, but we'll see. But they still lose this game to the New England Patriots, dropping the Jets to 3-4 on the season and elevating the Patriots to first place in the AFC East with a 4-3 mark as they beat the Jets 29-26. And again, if the Jets want to do anything in this division, they're going to have to beat the New England Patriots. They get them one more time in New Jersey. They got to take care of business when they see the Patriots again. The next game up on the docket is the game that I termed Ugly Bowl 2. And this one actually lived up to the hype. Last week, the Ugly Bowl didn't live up to the hype of the Ugly Bowl moniker. Thought that the Bucks came out and really just took it to the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was only one ugly team in that game. When it's an ugly bowl, both teams are supposed to be putrid. We're supposed to be looking at the game and going, from both sides of the field. Not just one sideline. And I thought the Chiefs were the only team that was ugly in that game. This game, however, both teams lived up to the ugly moniker. This was an ugly, sloppy, nasty football game. A lot of turnovers, a lot of mistakes. If you weren't a fan of one of these teams, hard to watch. A lot of garbage going on in this game, and you had to sort through the garbage to get to the good stuff. But the Jaguars jumped on the Raiders early on. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of this game because it was the Ugly Bowl, Ugly Bowl 2. And so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Jacksonville Jaguars jumped on the Raiders early on in this football game, really sparked by many, many, many Raider blunders. Carson Palmer throws a pick. He fumbles. They also get a muffed punt from Phillip Adams. The Jacksonville Jaguars are pulling out all the stops. They kick an onside kick. They recover. And it was just a very sloppy football game, especially if you were a Raiders fan. But The Raiders were able to hang around because the Jacksonville Jaguars aren't a good team, and they lost the services of their starting running back, Maurice Jones-Drew, on the first drive, and not there long after, they lose the services of their starting quarterback, Blaine Gabbert, and so they're left with Chad Henne and Rashad Jennings to really hold off the Raiders, and it wasn't enough. Cecil Shorts was wide open on a touchdown pass early in this football game, and bad defense by the Raiders. And Jacksonville, they did a lot of things to let the Raiders hang around. They turned the football over, and they get pass interference penalties in the end zone and give the Raiders easy opportunities to score in overtime as they allow the Raiders to scratch and claw their way back into this game. They fumble on the opening possession of overtime deep in their own territory, giving the Raiders an opportunity to not even have to run and play, but get the ball, center it, and kick a Sebastian Janikowski field goal in overtime to get them the win 26-23, taking the Raiders to 2-4 on the season, dropping the Jacksonville Jaguars to 1-5 on the season. This was an ugly game, hence the name Ugly Bowl 2, and they lived up to the hype of the Ugly Bowl, and this was not a pretty game. Sight for sore eyes. And if your eyes were sore before you saw this game, then you were probably blind when you were done watching. Moving right along to the Sunday night showdown in Cincinnati as the Cincinnati Bengals were hosting divisional rival Pittsburgh Steelers in some old-fashioned AFC North family business. And I said that I didn't trust the Cincinnati Bengals to get it done because, again, there's still that young punk that's coming up that's looking for respect, willing to do anything to get respect. But respect is not given. It is earned. And until they beat the Steelers, until they beat the Ravens, I can't give them any respect in that division. And I said that the Steelers and the Ravens, they're the landlords in that division. And the Browns and the Bengals are tenants. They're the ones paying rent. They're just paying rent to stay serviceable, to stay relevant in the AFC North. But by no means are they running anything in that division. And last night was just another example of why you can't trust the Cincinnati Bengals in that division until they beat one of those upper echelon teams. Until they do that, and they were at home. They dropped one to the Steelers at home, and you just can't trust them. And the Steelers went in. They fell behind in this game. You thought maybe the Bengals got a chance to get it done and finally get over that hump. Steelers are struggling. They came into the game having lost the last football game, and you're thinking maybe this is the time for the Bengals to step up. It wasn't their time. And I said it early in this game after I think A.J. Green scored that touchdown to take the lead to, I want to say, 13-3 or 10-3. 14-3, something like that. I said, they're not going to win this game. I just didn't feel the vibe. I thought, they had a lot of drops, did the Steelers, early on by Mike Wallace, and they could have extended drives, possibly put points on the board, but they were shooting themselves in the foot. And I said, if they ever stop shooting themselves in the foot, they're going to win this football game. And they got the one mistake that they needed. The Bengals dominated their first half. They get the interception to Lamar Woodley, the one that slips out of Andy Dalton's hands, goes to Lamar Woodley, and that's the break the Steelers needed. They take advantage of it. They get 7, and they get the 2-point conversion, tie the game up at 14. And once they got even with them, I said they're leaving, and they were able to really take advantage of the mistake that the Bengals made, and they really seized control of that game from that point forward. And I didn't think the Bengals were ready for the big time. They weren't ready for prime time, and I didn't think they were going to be able to beat the Steelers, and it proved true. And again, until they're able to go and beat one of these, bullies of this division, the Bengals are just another team in that division. So the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to get it done on the road against a division opponent, handle some family business, and continue to be the bully that they want to be in that division, as they were able to hand the Cincinnati Bengals a loss at home 24-17, running their record to 3-3 on the season. And that was a much needed win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They couldn't afford to drop to 2-4 on the season. They just couldn't. And meanwhile, the Bengals, who are in free fall mode, they can't buy a win after starting the season 3-1. winning 3 consecutive games after dropping their first one to the Ravens, have now lost 3 consecutive games to go to 3-4 on the season. So they're in trouble. They're looking for an answer. They're searching, trying to figure out why it is they can't get a win. And they got to keep looking because they dropped another one at home to a team that they really needed to beat if they're trying to go to the playoffs. If they're trying to get where they want to go, they need to beat the Steelers. They need to find a way to beat the Ravens. And they weren't able to do it at home. And again, you can't afford to drop home games in the division against teams that you're looking up to as a bully. The only way to conquer a bully is to smack them right in the face, and they weren't able to do it. And so they drop another one to the Steelers, 24-17. So that's going to do it for the Sunday slate of games. Now we do have one more game, so that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. We'll tack on a quick extra point. And the extra point tonight is going to be the Monday night matchup that pits the Detroit Lions, who are going on the road against the Chicago Bears in a divisional matchup between two teams that flat out don't like each other. A lot of history there, and it's family business. Again, it's not my business. It's not your business unless you're a fan of the Lions or the Vikings or the Packers or the Bears. Oh my. But if you're not your business, so stay out of it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit back, relax, and enjoy the festivities and watch these two teams beat the hell out of each other. And the Bears are the better team here. The Lions are struggling to score points this year. I don't know what happened, who turned the lights out on this Detroit Lions offense, but they cannot get it going on offense. They can't score points. They're struggling this year to put points on the scoreboard. And I don't understand why that is when you have Calvin Johnson, one of the premier wide receivers in the game, an unstoppable force. If I get anywhere near the end zone, you best believe he's getting 2 or 3 opportunities to catch the football. I don't understand why they don't just chuck it up to Calvin when they get close. Teams can't stop him, and if they do, it's probably because they had some form of pass interference or some kind of impediment that you're going to get a flag for, and you're going to be rewarded for throwing him the football. I just don't understand why they're not scoring more points. But the Bears don't care anything about that. The Bears are scoring points. The Bears are winning football games, and they're doing it off the strength of their defense. And by that defense powering that offense, they're scoring points and they're beating teams soundly and handily. Right now, they look like one of the better teams in the NFC. They destroyed Jacksonville on the way to their bye. The week before that, they were on the road in destroying and in dismantling of the Dallas Cowboys on national television. So the Bears are 4-1 on the season, and they're riding high right now. They're playing really good football. And I don't see the Detroit Lions coming into Soldier Field on national television. Bears coming off of a bye week, having 2 weeks to prepare for these Detroit Lions. They're rested. They're ready to go. And I just don't see the Lions being able to match wits with the Bears right now. The Bears are really playing some good football. I think they're going to be able to get after Matthew Stafford. The Bears are playing really well on defense. The last 2 games, they've had 2 pick sixes in each of those 2 games. And I just don't know right now if the Detroit Lions are playing well enough to be able to contend with the Chicago Bears. Look, the Chicago Bears team can be had. They're not invincible. And this is family business. So anything goes. You throw everything else out of the window because these teams know each other. They're very familiar with each other. This is an intimate relationship. Again, family business. So from that standpoint, you have to give the Lions a fighting chance. They have a puncher's chance in this game tonight, but I just don't see them being able to get it done. They're not a consistent team running the football. They're not scoring points. They're bogging down in the red zone. And I can see the Bears getting after Matthew Stafford, stopping their running game, making Matthew Stafford beat them, forcing him into some mistakes, taking advantage of those mistakes, and then Jay Cutler going up top on this defense that has some inexperienced defenders back there. And let's not forget Matt Forte is out there, and he's their workhorse. They can get it done on both sides of the ball, and I just see the Bears getting it done tonight against the Detroit Lions, 27-17. And that's going to do it for this episode of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Been a long episode, but again, I'm feeling good. Feel good about my matchup tonight. I feel like after tonight, I should be 12-1 on the week, and 12-1 will just fall short of a personal best. I was 13-1 before in a football pool picking games, so this will be, one of my best performances if I can find a way to get the win tonight with the Bears. And I feel confident that I'll be able to do that. And this will be a great week. Hopefully, this will be the start of me really running off a streak of wins and a streak of very successful weeks that sees me ultimately winning a football pool sometime, in the near future. At some point, I want these wins to start to translate to actual winning football pools. And so I want to actually win football pools. And so I need to find a way to take care of business. And the way to do that is just keep stockpiling wins. Just keep winning ball games. I feel confident I can do that. And again, this was a reminder Monday. I reminded myself that I could get it done. And I needed that. I needed that boost just to remind, in case I forgot how good it feels to be, right or on the left side of 12 of 13 games. Just in case I forgot how that feeling felt, I was reminded this week, and I still have to cap it off with a win tonight, but I continue to speak it into existence because I expect it to happen, and I feel confident that it will. I feel confident that at the end of this game tonight, I'll be 12-1, and I would have had one of my best weeks picking games as a prognosticator ever. So there you have it. It was a great week. The Redskins didn't get the win, so that's the one blemish on what otherwise was a flawless week of football for me. And I hate the Bills now. If you didn't already know that, they really, really destroyed my chance to go. I could have been perfect, and I would have been in Monday night right now talking to you about having a chance to win the football pool. So that will be today's episode. You're in the lab room. I thank you for joining me. And again, enjoy tonight's festivities. Enjoy the game. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss everything that happened in this matchup between the Lions and the Bears. Oh my. And we'll go over it. Kind of, finish putting a bow on week 7. And then we'll kind of start to transition into week 8 as we move towards the middle of the week. So enjoy the game tonight. Come back here tomorrow. Want to see you here same time, same place. And I'll be here to break it all down and hopefully be talking about how I went 12-1 on the week. Have a good one.